What annoys you more? When people pull out their cell phones in a movie or when people talk during a movie?
This is two different animals, though, because talking has to be proximate to me, but a cell phone can bother me no matter where they're sitting.
That's true.
They can be way in the front. They can be directly in my to the side. They can even be behind me, and it's annoying. Just the light.
I don't think I've ever been bothered by cell phones in a movie.
Oh, I envy you.
I feel like I'm able to hyper focus really well, so I'm just like, well, on movies anyways. So then I'm like, I'm in the movie, and maybe there's someone's using their phone over there. I'm just like, that's fine. Go for it. Play your Candy Crush.
No way, man.
But if someone's talking, I'm like, hey, shut up.
Huh.
You're ruining my experience.
So sensory gating for you is like stimulus
I don't use
specific.
I don't use those terms.
So, but why is it that you're distracted by one type of stimulus but not the other?
Because one is distracting, one isn't.
Why? Because both those things would distract me.
You're asking me to analyze the peculiarities of my sensory system. I don't know. That's just the way it is.
Brain of yours.
Oh, who knows?
What's between those ears?
It's crazy.
David, do you have an opinion? Do you care? Phones?
I know that they're both just as annoying as watching this movie.
God,
hey,
guys.
there we are.
This movie was not what I thought it would be.
Really?
Not what I thought it would be.
I didn't, me neither. Because I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, okay, that could be, I don't know.
Okay, then what the heck? I didn't even see the trailer. I thought, okay.
Wait, well, what do you mean? What impression do you have of it? What is it based on other than the trailer?
I don't know.
The poster?
I kind of just thought, oh, it's going to be like Sherlock. It's going to be like Sherlock Holmes, which I also didn't see. It's going to be like a PG like romp with action, and they're going to rip around. And then we got to the theater, and we get in there, and first of all, me and David went straight from work, and then we just like ate the crappy food in the mall, and we had to bring it in. I'm like eating a sushi cone during this. Like it's starting, and I'm having like
that's
like
horrible.
Nori against my skin. I get a cone.
At least I had some like sick ramen before. Delicious.
What I'm describing is the opposite problem, where we're like trying to stuff it down our throats.
Yeah.
By the way, David is like a competition level speed eater all the time.
I know that.
So crazy. But we're wondering, man, are we gonna make it in time? Okay, there's 20 minutes.
Oh no, what are we gonna miss? We might miss the first few minutes of this movie.
And we didn't have seats.
The whole experience would be ruined.
We didn't have seats beforehand. We had to like get seats. Oh man, what if we have to sit at the front? I'm like, wait a second. It's Monday night. This is one of the worst performing movies of the year so far. Jeez. And we're not even at the big Cineplex theater. We're at International Village, because even though this movie stars Robert Downey Jr., frickin' Iron Man, and even though it has like this star-studded cast, it's in this B-tier theater. Yeah. So we get in the theater.
They're lazy boys.
The movie starts, and it has like this prelude thing, but instead of it being like an opening crawl like Star Wars we're expected to read, it's just animated. It's like they're getting you up to speed with like this little animated cartoon thing at the beginning of the movie.
Which was like well done.
It was nicely animated.
Yeah.
But that's when it hit me. I was like, holy shit. This is a kid's movie. This is like a kid's movie.
I didn't really get that either. I mean, I heard somebody say that it was a kid's movie, so I was like, oh. And so going in, I kind of like had that expectation. But yeah, that's
like,
when it hits you.
This is for 6-year-olds, like a kid's movie. And I know the rest of my time in the theater was like evaluating the decisions I've made. Like, man, we really screwed this up. What
huge mistake.
Why
honestly,
am I here?
We're like, yeah, like when we were talking about this, we're like, what do you think we should do this week, guys? Yeah, Dolittle. Yeah, we can do Dolittle. This is Robert Downey Jr.'s first movie after Endgame. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, that sounds good.
I didn't know you guys didn't realize it was going to be a
Wrong.
dumpster fire.
I knew it was bad.
I knew it was going to be dumpster fire, and that's
From
why
when?
I picked it. That's why I chose it.
When did you know that?
I think for you guys on the internets, we chose this because reviewers who review terrible movies, that's the most entertaining form of content for me.
That was part of the rationale, yes.
Yeah,
so
sometimes.
I was very much excited to tear this movie apart, but I've never felt sleepier faster. This movie, for me, is a 3.6, and my tagline is The Cure for Insomnia.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah.
Have you even said the title of the movie yet?
The movie is Dolittle, guys.
We're like avoiding the title.
Well, it's in the title. If you clicked on the thing, you probably know what you're listening to. I was excited to like tear apart Rise of Skywalker.
Yep.
I'm not excited to tear apart this movie, partially because, as we'll talk about later, I feel like there was a decent kids movie hiding underneath all of this, what it ended up as.
So what's your rating out of 10?
I rated this movie as 2 out of 10, and I gave it the slogan, "Imagine a world where we could all talk to animals, and this movie would never exist." Amazing.
Oh man, see the thing though, David, is I'm willing to hate on a movie that gets like 30% on Rotten Tomatoes or something, which is what I thought was going on with this movie. Not a 17%. We went too far. I'm giving this movie, like you, a 2.5, maybe a 3 out of 10. I'm going to say my slogan is more like do nothing.
That's good.
Got him.
Give us the synopsis of this bad boy, Riley. Okay, so
Here's what happens.
It's Dr. Dolittle. If you've been alive last, I don't know, since the 20s, when the books came out, you know that Dr. Dolittle is basically a vet who can talk to animals and likes animals more than people, which I'd have to say in 2020 is pretty common. You see a lot of introvert and nihilist memes.
They could have made this a lot more relatable.
Yeah.
Like the people who get sadder when dogs die in movies than when people die.
We will definitely get into that. Okay, so Dolittle this is not like the Eddie Murphy Dolittle. This is not... Okay.
Eddie Murphy is not in this movie. I had to explain to a couple people. They're like, but why are they remaking it? And I'm like, no. It's not a remake of the Eddie Murphy one. Like, they were just like, in their mind, Dr. Dolittle is synonymous with the Eddie Murphy movie.
But there's a book from like the 20s, and the Dolittle movie from 98 from Eddie Murphy is not related to that at all, except for the fact that it's a vet who can talk to animals.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think that this Dolittle movie is way closer, where you meet Dolittle.
Okay, yeah.
He's in his house. He's a reclusive. He lives with animals in this manor that's walled off. And
he had a wife that she was a brilliant explorer, but she went away on an adventure and never came back, died at sea.
She's dead, guys.
Yeah, so he's
Spoiler alerts.
he's all depressed, living in his house with all his animals. A boy shows up with
disgusting beard.
Yep. Oh, we'll get to that. A boy shows up with an injured squirrel, and at the same time that a messenger from Buckingham Palace shows up and says, "Oh, if you don't come and save the queen from her illness, you're gonna lose your land." So he's like, "Oh."
This guy hasn't had a visitor in like 30 years. Then he gets 2.
So then him and the animals go to see the queen. They're like, the only thing that can save her is the fruit of the Eden tree. They're like, what? That doesn't exist. And Dr. Dolittle's like, no, it does. So he goes on an adventure with his animals to go find the fruit of the Eden tree.
That fruit of the Eden tree happens to be on the one island that was only ever reachable by one person, who happens to be my dead wife.
Yes. So then he goes on this adventure being pursued by the bad guys who poisoned the queen. Spoiler alert. And they find the fruit of the Eden tree, and they come back and save her. Look, I just ruined the whole movie, but you're not going to see this movie. Do not see this movie if you have not seen the movie.
Riley, you didn't ruin it. This movie is self-ruining.
Did you talk about the dragon enema?
Oh my!
I did not mention the dragon enema, but we'll get to that.
So even just talking about this movie, normally I can focus really intently on what Riley says when he gives a synopsis, but my ability to listen to what's happening just
even there
fades to zero. I can't.
You're going. It's going away.
Okay, let's talk about the worst problems with this movie. Okay. I'm going to start with Dolittle himself. Not likable at all.
Yeah.
For Robert Downey Jr., man, no charisma in this movie.
I know, and they go out of their way to make you not like him. Like, he is rude. Like, he doesn't want to see the boy when he comes or whatever. He tells him to take off. Even when he finally makes it to the boat, the kid like catches up with Dolittle because they take off without the kid. And then he gets back in the boat, and then like Dr. Dolittle's like, "I guess you can stay." And then he's like, "But you got to clean this up," and he knocks over a bunch of stuff, and like is like, "Yeah, you got to be my assistant," and they're like being super rude.
I think that can work though. I feel like he was going for some kind of Jack Sparrow motif or something like that, but it just did not work. And I think a big part of that.
He's not Jack Sparrow. He's Dr. Dolittle. He's supposed to be a good person.
He's supposed to like animals a lot more than people.
Yeah, but not like straight up just like knock something over and say, pick that up.
That's
like
frivolous mess.
That's major asshole move. Jack Sparrow's an anti-hero. Expect that from him.
See, my problem definitely wasn't with Robert Downey Jr. I think he was fine. I think his choice of Welsh accent was a little bit distracting.
Is that what the heck he was trying to do?
Yeah, it's a Welsh accent.
Okay, that was the worst accent ever. I thought it was really spotty.
Yeah, I think everyone else and all the animals are just as bad as him. Like, I wouldn't put the blame on him. I'd put the blame equally on every single celebrity who voiced this movie.
They all sucked, but
Speaking of which,
it's not equal because he's the star and he's the marquee. He's the person getting butts in seats.
Can we
He
talk
was-
about even more than being the star? He funded this movie.
yeah, he was
What?
the
This
first
is-
person attached.
Yeah, he's this movie is produced by the Team Downey. So Robert Downey Jr.'s wife, Robert Downey Jr.'s wife and him have this production company that's been going for a while and has made movies before. But this is like their first really big movie.
What do they
Well,
make?
career's over, guys.
What are they called?
And
The
they spent-
Downey Group or something?
Team Downey. And they spent
Team
$175 million to make this.
Is that their own money?
Not all of it is their own money, but a lot of it is like money that they've come up with on their own.
This is amazing. I actually have a list here of things that I penned in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep after seeing this movie. And the bold title here is, why did Robert Downey Jr. take this role? Why? What could have possibly have motivated him to be in such a shit movie?
Really? Because it makes perfect sense to me that he would want this role.
What? How? In what world?
So I was reading up into it, and apparently he went to the director and was like, "Hey, I found this like obscure Welsh doctor who was like known for being super insane and like thought he could like talk to nature and stuff, and he was like into druidic stuff, and like he was a super crazy guy with like crazy hair and stuff, and he's like, I want to play this character. And the guy was like, sounds good. So it's like, it was Robert Downey Jr.'s idea to play this like eccentric, and that made sense to me because he's an actor. He's a good actor.
But the
He's like
portrayal
looking for a
sucked.
challenge.
But the portrayal sucked.
Yeah, but that's his fault.
But he's a good actor.
Well, he's fine, but here's the key though, because what happened before Iron Man? Robert Downey Jr. was like a washed up, drug addicted weirdo, and then Jon Favreau and Marvel show up and they're like, hey, we think you'd be perfect for this role. That got his career back on track.
That was it? Iron Man was his... You know how like the same thing kind of happened to DiCaprio? He was obscure for a number of years there, and then he like came out of nowhere with Departed and Blood Diamond, and then suddenly he was back.
Right.
But for him, it was actually just Iron Man?
Yeah, Iron Man
What?
brought him back, and then everyone's like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. is amazing. Oh, such a good actor. Blah, blah. And then I guess as soon as Marvel's done with him, he's like...
Turns out he was just Tony
Turns out
Stark.
he's still a hack. No, I like Robert Downey Jr. I think he did an amazing job in the Marvel movies, obviously, and he did a few other movies during his tenure at Marvel as well that were
Sherlock.
good. Yeah,
see
Sherlock's
those.
fine. He still does a bad British accent.
Good night and good luck.
Yeah, he's done some good movies. I wouldn't count Sherlock as like
Was
an
it
example.
Get Him to the Greek?
No, that's Russell Brand.
Didn't he? He did like a My
That's
Wife's
Russell
Pregnant
Brand.
and We're Driving Somewhere movie, or like a comedy, a road
Oh
trip
yeah,
movie.
there was a
Do
comedy
they?
in there.
No.
Something like that.
It's okay. Those don't matter.
Anyways, if none of them were as bad as this movie, but it's just like it doesn't look good on Robert Downey Jr. that like this was his idea to play this character.
Are you sure he wasn't blackmailed? Or like
Who knows?
maybe he never wants to work again.
That would make a lot more sense.
He owed someone a favor.
Oh my gosh.
It's a plot to make Eddie Murphy's comeback seem greater.
Oh my gosh, he got
jeez.
paid like $50 million
He
to
just-
self-sabotage.
He just loves
So-
animals.
See, I feel like there's lots of bad movies that are really interesting. Like there's A View to a Kill or like Cats or something where it's like it's so catastrophically bad, but there's something really there's something very interesting about it, and like on the surface you can like immediately analyze and try and figure out like what went wrong. But this movie is like a fairly well presented box, and I feel like we need to take like a hammer, smash it apart, and like pull the pieces apart and like examine it. I think that's what we need to do.
I have an idea. I think one of the biggest problems with this movie is the pacing of it.
Absolutely.
Somehow it actually seems like too ambitious. Like they had to. It looks like there's a lot of deleted scenes.
Oh, totally.
Because there's a bunch of weird jumps. You're like, now we're over here, and it's like, it's super fast. So here's a couple weird ones. Like Stubbins. Stubbins.
Who is the kid, but
so bad.
Stubbins is this kid who, like, at the beginning of the movie, he's hunting with his uncles, and doesn't have the same kind of masculinity as them, so he doesn't want to shoot this squirrel. He doesn't want to shoot a duck. Accidentally shoots a squirrel.
Yeah.
Brings the squirrel to Doolittle's place to try to get it fixed, and then when he's there, he's like, "Whoa, Doolittle exists. He can talk to animals and help them. That's what I want to do with my life. I want to be this guy's apprentice."
right.
He decides that. I think he expresses that maybe to the princess chick, but he never says it to Doolittle before getting kicked out of Doolittle's place and then stowing away in the back of the caravan or whatever. That caravan will then go to Buckingham Palace,
Right.
which is nearby to them because they live in Britain. Well, I was like, man, that's a journey. That's a hike they got to go to.
Where did you think they were?
America, because
What?
All movies take place in
They all
America.
have accents.
Santa Claus is American. That's an aside. Anyway, then they go to Buckingham Palace and they talk about this journey that they're going to go on. And then Stubbins is like, but I'm going to come and I'm going to be your apprentice.
Right.
And it's just kind of, Doolittle's like, okay. But at that point, the way that they're talking seems like this subject has already been broached, but actually hadn't been.
Right. We needed a scene before he gets kicked out of the house the first time
Where he expresses interest in it and then gets rebuffed.
Or on the road, they stop and he's like, oh, I'm going to go get some food in the back. And he opens it up, Stubbins, and then they have this encounter.
Yeah.
And he convinces him.
Something.
Man, that movie, like, even just that setup of where the kid is, like, hunting and he's, like, too afraid of shooting the animal and shoots something else, that's something we've seen, like, 100 times in other movies. I feel like it was so lazy of a setup. Like, come up with something different, something more heart-wrenching. And I feel like, when I thought about that, I came up with a list of like 10 different setups they could have done that made that kid more likable, set up a skill for later that they could pay off.
Do you want to tell us?
Okay, the one I came up with
Show
first.
us your, tell me, no. I don't know if this is your first one, but just tell me your baby. Give me the best one.
Okay, so it starts with this kid and his puppy. And you see like a little montage of them growing up together. They're like having a good time. And at some point, the dog either gets sick or like sacrifices himself to protect him from a different animal.
Oh, wow.
And so he has to like basically use his skill that he has, like whatever, some kind of busking to try and raise money to like save his dog. And so he's on the street.
Busking.
No one cares. He's either like showing his crazy acrobatics or something that will come out later in the film.
Playing the lute.
But no one cares. Yeah, it's something.
Dog grooming.
But no
Wow,
one cares.
that guy grooms a mean
the parrot
dog.
sees him, and so then you have like this emotional scene where his dog's dying, and he's like, "Oh no, Fido, I'm sorry, I couldn't save you." And the parrot's like, "Come with me," and then he brings the dog out.
We need
like
more of that. Yeah.
something different. I don't know. I just felt like the masculinity scene where it's like, you're not enough of a man to hunt if you can't hunt. I've seen that like dozens of times in like the worst movies.
Yeah, but David, you're not 6 years old.
Yeah.
If you were 6, you'd be like, wow, this is new to me.
And this
also, boogers taste great.
It's true. It's like, I don't think this is the type of movie where we're looking for to really break the mold in a big way. You know, like we're not looking for innovation in the sphere of cinema here.
But kids' movies don't have to be bad. Some of my favorite movies are animated movies and are amazing. They're excellent. They're full of imagination, full of creativity. One of the rules of storytelling that Pixar has is that like your first 10 ideas for how to resolve a scene are bad. It's like it's what you come up with after like 10 ideas that's what's good. And this
they
movie,
never met me.
this movie, you can clearly tell every scene. It's whatever the first thing that popped into the writer's head. That's how they resolve a scene. It's so simple. There's no like unique takes. There's no imagination.
And
no
yeah,
nothing.
even though it's super formulaic, they didn't nail that formula.
Totally. And I agree with you, David, that like movies don't have to, like kids' movies don't have to be bad, which is why this movie was perhaps so shocking, is it's a kids' movie that it's so bad even as a kids' movie. As like a
There's kids in our theater, none of them laughed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there were kids. I'm not saying that like kids didn't like it, because I think I've heard that a lot of people brought their kids and their kids were laughing and it was fine. Like the kids, there were a bunch of kids in my theater and they were
laughed
like,
a couple times.
Yeah, they laughed a couple times and I'm like, oh wow, they're stupid. But kids are, you know.
Yeah.
No offense, kids.
Hey, kids, if you're listening to this,
You'll
you're
get smarter. Don't worry.
I was shocked. So I counted about 70 plus jokes in this movie. And between me and James, I think there was 3 chuckles. But the kids laughed less than 10 times. So that's still a really low laugh rate for kids.
That's fair.
So like,
I'd say
this
that's
movie's
true.
trying to be funny, but it's not. And not even to kids, not even to idiots.
That's one of the worst parts about it. If you look at the cast, it has some funny
Oh
people
my
in
gosh.
the cast, man.
The cast is stacked.
It's got Craig Robinson, man. That guy's hilarious.
You got a
See,
laugh out of me. That
was-
squirrel Vietnam flashback. That
Oh, is that who he
chuckle.
plays? Oh, yeah. He plays Kevin, which is the squirrel that the kid accidentally shoots at the beginning. And the whole time, that squirrel's probably the funniest part of the movie.
Oh, really?
He gets less funny as it goes on, but the
I
beginning
liked
is funny.
Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah, he was
He
the
played the
ostrich.
ostrich.
Yeah,
he
those
was kind of
characters,
funny.
they're the best.
It was so weird because like you saw these little moments where you're like, that could have been funny. Like that could have been funny if the pacing wasn't so breakneck and the animation wasn't so like weird and in your face. And like there's what is it? It's the part where him and what's his name? I'm gonna look it up. Yoshi the bear, played by John Cena.
Dude, I thought that bear was, I swore, I was like, oh, that's Bert Kreischer. I swear that was Bert Kreischer's
I
voice.
don't even know who that is.
He's that comedian who's like never wears a shirt. He's always on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, love that guy.
He's hilarious. I thought it was him for sure, but okay, it's John Cena.
I love John Cena.
Yeah, it was just that moment where they were having like a little argument or whatever, and he was like, "You're not even a good bird," and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're not even a good bear," and he's like, "What's a bear thing you can do?" And then he like roars at the camera, and he's like, "Oh, that's pretty good." I'm like, that could have been a good little routine, but it was just like boom, boom, line. It was like a Gilmore Girls episode. It was like relentless. I was like, slow it down.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of pacing? I think there was one scene where I was like, okay, the pacing it's regained some sense here. Was after their ship sinks and they're like stuck on the island.
Yeah, and they showed you a Captain Orangutan for 5 seconds that
was
never
that?
returns.
What was that
What
about?
is that? It's so weird. They have this elaborately animated, like Jack Sparrow looking orangutan pirate captain that they show, and he's like, "Here's gonna be your captain," and then they never show him again.
Dude, the
is that
same
what
thing
it was
happens
about?
in that same scene. They show this guy who's like trapped in those like stocks things, like those medieval, and he's like, "My name is Jeff," and then he's gone again. Another example.
I didn't even realize that.
It's another example of like, is there a deleted scene after this?
Yeah, there probably is.
Same with when Michael Sheen, Martin Sheen. Who is it?
Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen. The scene where Michael Sheen is
Is he
like,
the bad guy?
He's the bad guy.
The twisty mustache?
Yeah. He's the kind of like the more active bad guy. And he's on a ship that's chasing Dolittle, and they're going to shoot cannons at him. And then there's kind of a banter with like this lieutenant or whatever. And the lieutenant makes a comment about his chin, but it's like they've never set it up. And I guarantee there's another scene in the deleted scenes where it's like someone makes a comment about his chin or like whatever. Like it just seems like it was like totally out of nowhere.
They did
I don't know
like-
because that's very what do you call it? Dang it.
There's at least 2 or 3 jokes about his chin, but I agree with you that it was kind of abrupt. Like the initial setup of it's probably missing.
Generous. That's very generous of you to assume that there are deleted scenes in which that makes this make more sense. Like, I got the feeling that it's like there's a lot of these just little gags put in there because it feels like it was kind of written by a 12-year-old who doesn't have like impulse control, where they're just like, that's a joke, and they just like write it in, even though it doesn't make any sense contextually. And
It doesn't
his
even
chin
fit
that
the
bad?
casting. No, he doesn't look like a
he's like-
particularly chinless dude.
yeah, he looks fine.
Yeah, I was like,
looks
what?
like he's got a chin.
Well, that's the beard.
Fair enough.
We never got to see him in profile.
Okay, I have a problem with the villains in this movie. I think part of it is the fact that there's probably a million cut scenes, but this movie is kind of confused about who its main villain is. Like, is it Jim Broadbent, who's stuck at Buckingham Palace, kind of masterminding all these things, or is it Martin Sheen, who's kind of more active in like chasing Dolittle? Because at the climax, Martin Sheen is there,
Yep.
but like
Michael
Sheen, Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen is there. He's in bed with the queen.
And so he's there when the dragon farts all over everybody. But then, like in the denouement of the movie, there's Jim Broadbent, and he has a scene where he reveals that he was kind of the evil mastermind behind the whole thing. And I feel like this movie really struggles with like not really knowing who its protagonist is. It's not sure if it's the kid or Dolittle.
I wonder that.
Yeah, and it really struggles with who's the main villain, and it's like it's
Right.
really confused and washy between the two, and it's I found
Yeah.
it
We
hard
don't
to
have
follow.
2 villains, man.
We don't-
Vader and Palpatine.
Yeah, boom.
Boom.
Yeah, but that's not confused. That's,
Checkmate.
Boom. This movie's sick. You're wrong, David.
I mean, yeah, I didn't feel like that was that confusing. Yeah.
You didn't have a problem with the accents in this movie?
I had a huge problem with the accents in this movie. Dude, his accent, like, I don't know why Robert Downey Jr. keeps trying to do like weird accents, because he clearly can't. He can't. Like, the fact that Sherlock Holmes, there were 2 movies, his British accent sucks. And this accent was like a little better, but I think it was only a little better because he was mumbling the entire time. Did you guys notice? Every single one of his lines was ADR.
Really?
There wasn't a line of his. I mean,
Hey, what does ADR stand for?
additional dialogue recording.
So just explain to people what it is.
It's basically when you redo the dialogue that you've already filmed. So like you bring the actor into the studio and they have the film there, and they have to like match their.
They're kind of lip
dialogue.
syncing their own performance.
Yeah, lip syncing their own performance. So this, I mean,
I did not notice that.
Maybe I'm tripping, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I can recognize ADR, and all of his lines were ADR, and it's like, why did that happen? Was it because he was mumbling like he was on set the entire time, and then they were like, oh, the audio sucks, we have to redo it?
Yeah.
But it really took away from the movie for me, even more so than it was already taken away. And it also just made him hard to understand.
Yeah, it was hard to understand him, and it was puzzling. I was like, is he just really bad at Scottish? What is this accent?
It's Welsh.
So if you are tuned into Welsh accents and you know what they're supposed to sound like, did he do a good job?
Well, I actually didn't know whether it was Welsh or like Northern English. I just knew it was like a variation of a UK accent.
But I felt like it was in and out.
Well, that's just because it's bad.
It wasn't consistent.
He like forgets how to do his R's sometimes, and like we must go on this perilous journey, but he brings in a sharp R a little bit, like journey. I don't know. I just couldn't take it.
It's bad.
You know what's hilarious to me? The main thing that I like while I was watching this movie, I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn who all these actors are afterwards because I recognize some of the voices, and I'm like, okay, wait, I know that all of these animals are played by famous people, but I was shocked once I actually looked at the cast list. Like Emma Thompson is the parrot. Rami Malek is the gorilla.
I know, it's
Chi-Chi.
depressing. You see this cast list and you're like,
Yeah.
no.
John Cena is the bear. Kumail Nanjiani's the ostrich. Octavia Spencer, Oscar-winning actress, is the duck.
The duck sucked.
Tom Holland, Spider-Man, is Jip,
What is that?
the dog with the glasses.
Oh, the dog sucked.
Craig Robinson, Kevin. Ralph Fiennes is Barry.
The tiger.
Yeah. Selena Gomez is the giraffe.
How did they get these people? Maybe
Marion Cotillard is the fox. Which
you know, that was weird too, because when that fox comes in for the cameo there, I was like, that was an example where I thought, that's a bad accent. That's a bad French accent. But it's
but it's her accent.
how she sounds.
She has like 6 lines in the movie. And also I was like, okay, wait, so the fox is French. And she was also kind of like using like World War II sort of language. Like there's one point where he's jumping from the bridge onto the boat and she's like, Vive la résistance!
That's weird.
And it's like, what are you talking about? What resistance? What are you talking about? It makes no sense in this context other than the fact that you're French and that was a French saying in World War II?
She's a fox with a past.
Oh my gosh.
The French have been resisting long before World War II.
This movie fails at every scene. Every scene is a failure because the writers fail to understand what a scene should be, where there's like a goal, a conflict, and a failure, where two people or like two forces come against each other and there's a conflict that has to be resolved, and by the end there's like a flip and like something changes.
A change.
This movie, there's never any change. Scenes start out one way and end the exact same way. It's just a series of events that this movie takes us on, and it thinks that like if there's enough flashy CG, maybe
Flashy
it'll be
CG. The CG sucked. Did you not think
really?
the graphics were bad?
I thought it was
I
okay.
agree that it's bad. It's just a flash.
I feel like it was a mix between photorealistic and cartoony. Like it was
Kind of stylized.
like there were moments where I was like, "Whoa, that kind of looks like a real gorilla," and then they'd like do a backflip and like flip something around, and I'd be like, "Oh, that looks super fake." But when they're not moving too fast,
CG heavy
it looked
movies
decent.
need to stop pretending like the Jurassic Park that we're wowed by it. Like no one's wowed by it. Not even kids are like, "Ooh, look at all these animals." Like
yeah,
they need to stop. We can tell it's CG. Stop it.
yeah,
Stop it.
Stop it! It's time to stop.
Get some help.
The only character who I noticed had like actual character development was Chi-Chi the gorilla.
Yeah, they hit
Where
us over the head with it.
Yeah. I'm so scared. And he's like, it's okay to be afraid. He's like, okay, it's okay to be scared. And suddenly he can defeat a tiger in combat because he's not scared anymore.
Is that one of those?
That's unrealistic.
Is it? Isn't that one of those episodes?
That's not how
one
lightsabers
of those
work.
like Spike TV shows where it's like man versus tiger versus
gorilla.
Isn't there an episode of a tiger versus a gorilla where they fight?
Oh, maybe.
Who would win?
What was that show with the
I think the gorilla could take it.
I think
Warrior
so, too.
versus Warrior or something?
Oh,
or
that was a great show.
is that what it's called?
That's a different show.
Oh.
But there was like Beast Fight or something.
Oh.
It was just animals. They would like do theoretical fights of different animals.
So there are a bunch of different theoretical fight shows.
the thing about
I
tigers,
only saw the ones where they were like, would a ninja defeat a Viking? That was actually a really cool show, though.
Clearly,
That was
the ninja
awesome.
would win.
You ever see it?
They get all their weapons, right? I think the ninja could take it. Although it's probably half the size of the Viking.
Yeah, but he's faster. The Viking's slow with strength, and the ninjas.
You're just applying like video game rules to like a
It's
real
a real
thing.
thing.
Yeah, is it
You
a
never-
battle royale, or are they just dropped into a zone and they have to fight each other,
That's
or
not-
do they have all their stuff and they have time to plan and prepare?
No, they have all their stuff. They have equipment.
Do they
That's
get to
not a
prepare?
real thing. It's not a real thing that like.
What do you mean it's not a real thing?
If you're really large, you're also slow. There are people who are like they weigh 100 pounds more than you and they're faster than you.
Yeah, well, they're the exception.
They're the NFL.
I'm talking about grand archetypes here.
Okay.
The NFL, you got people who are blockers who like are in the front and they're slow and strong, and then you got people in the back who are lean.
Yeah, but it's true. But take like the smallest person on that team, and they're still like way bigger and way faster and stronger than.
Sure, but we're talking about elite athletes here.
Yeah, but like a Viking.
A ninja and a Viking are both elite warriors.
Yeah, and I'm saying that the Viking is just gonna be able to smash that ninja. Come here, little boy.
If he can catch him.
Little boy.
Come here, boy.
What did you guys think of that Hunt for
No,
the
we
Red
were
October?
having a way better conversation just now.
This is important.
Tune in next week for
You know
our
what
Warriors
stunt I liked in
challenge.
this movie? I liked when they strung up that device that the whale slipped into and it made their ship go faster.
So wait,
That was sick.
Does he like have a prior relationship with these whales?
Maybe.
Are they just like out there waiting for Dr. Dolittle to come and they've like done this routine a million times?
I mean, theoretically,
This is what we do
he's-
every time Dr.
He's
Dolittle.
traveled lots, so like maybe he's met these whales before.
I guess so.
I don't know. That felt like so much like Deus Ex Machina to me, where they're like, we need to resolve this scene somehow, have them outrun this like at more advanced ship. So like he has a tuba that can go into the ocean. Like it felt like it came out of nowhere that it was trying to resolve this scene.
I'm
with
into
a
it.
Totally out there. Thing.
I'm into it. You know, like the whales are down there.
What else are they doing?
They're chatty. They're like, what's that noise? He talks to them. They probably have this existing relationship with the Navy where they're like always pissed off at the Navy. Like there's so many ships. They're just so annoying. Why not screw them over today? I'm swimming that way anyway.
You've convinced me.
I liked it.
All right, I'm down with the whales.
I do not like the climactic scene where they finally get to that island where this tree grows that bears the fruit that they need to solve the whole thing, and protecting that tree is a dragon, which they hinted to earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, but then the dragon's obviously needs to be like
We need to-
coerced.
Yeah,
So
we need
I need
to-
to help the dragon help me help you. So he relieves the dragon of like a stomachache or something.
Honestly.
And the way that
It's not a
gets
stomach
done.
ache.
How does he figure out that it's
He's
something in her
a,
butt?
he's a miraculous doctor.
He's
but
a doctor.
He figures out that this dragon is ornery because it's got stuff up its butt.
Like, this is a kid's film, and I was like, are we kidding me? The climax of this movie is Dolittle taking a little excursion. I mean, it doesn't go in there, but like, it's like
They pull a bagpipes out of.
he pulls a veritable mountain of stuff out of this dragon's ass.
He's like, just lay on your side for me. You've got too much armor in your diet. And he's just pulling a stack
It takes
of
so
metal up its
long
ass.
too. I'm just like, oh.
And then it farts on him.
And then every other animal in that room has to make a comment about the fart. They're all like,
Yeah.
well, that's a stinky one.
Yeah.
Well, that stinks in my face.
Oh, I tasted it in my mouth.
Yeah, everyone.
Wouldn't you, though? Yeah, the wind's blowing his hair back and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
like, it's like a giant like
That
fan.
shot's in the trailer.
you know what
The
they
fart
should have
shot.
done right there? They should have just put the big marquee text on the screen. A Downey Group production.
Just after the butt stuff.
That's on their
part,
demo
and then,
reel.
And then the rest of the movie finishes.
Man, I had a big problem with that like heist sequence. So at one point in the movie, they have to go get his wife's journal that is on this island, and so they have to break into the castle on the island
Hated
to get
it.
this journal. That whole sequence is so bad because like there's no setup, there's no payoff. It's just like literally him climbing a wall, him walking through a hallway, him opening a door. There's no like what's gonna happen, what's he
Yeah.
doing. There's no explaining what's happening. They don't
They don't have time
set
for
up
that,
any
David.
risk. They don't do anything.
No.
They just
You're
scene.
You're
Scene.
just thrown into it. Like they're in one setting that's completely different, and they're like, you know what? I think we can steal this from this completely other place. And then the camera just like does this big pan, like an aerial shot, and suddenly Robert Downey Jr. is dressed up like a chicken or something, scaling the side of a castle. Meanwhile, Stubbins has a different costume on with the veil over his face, and he's like trying to infiltrate through the front door at something. It's like, holy cow! Well,
was so
who cares?
confusing.
Whatever. We're
Yeah.
we're in some kind of crazy Persian bacchanal now.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Also, that I guess the Dr. Dolittle. I mean, like, yeah, it's okay. It's a fantastical world, but I expected them to, you know, have a place that actually existed. They just like came up with this like mythical island that apparently everyone knows about. With was a deal there that people could talk to animals on the island? Because there were like dogs and stuff. There was like a wolf eating at the table and monkeys and stuff. And I was like,
When
is Doolittle's supposed to be from there?
when Antonio Banderas showed up,
What?
Antonio Banderas was in this movie.
Wait, when?
He's the king of that island.
I know.
And
He
he's the,
didn't look like him. It looked like Kenneth Branagh. I had a hard time. I was like, that's someone I know, but like that's not Antonio Banderas.
I used to be Zorro.
You know what I can say about this movie is the visuals look like it's interesting, and I think I am justified in not knowing right away that it was going to be a horrible movie.
Like they had a
because
style?
Yeah, there was definitely some like visual choices made that are interesting. Like he's got this like cool like makeup on his face, like Antonio Banderas and stuff. And I don't know
What if this movie was ruined in the edit?
That's what. Hey, thank you for reminding me. That's basically my prevailing theory. Is that underneath all of this crap, there is a kids movie that was like somewhat decent.
Except it was 3 hours long.
And horrible. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
He's like, I just come off on game. Wait, where's he actually from?
He's American.
He's like,
It's me, Robert Downey Jr.
should like to do a shit accent again. They're like, Robert, what are you trying to sound like right now? Is that a hillbilly?
If he was British, he wouldn't have been so horrible at the Welsh accent, I think.
No.
Or it would have not. It would have sounded better to our ears.
Here's what just blows me away, though. Okay, so I looked at the list of like Oscar-nominated stuff, and this movie kept popping up called Marriage Story. And I remember an Instagram like video that I watched that was a scene from Marriage Story, and it had Adam Driver in it and Scarlett Johansson, and I was like, okay, that looks like a sweet movie. So now that it's nominated for these Oscars, I'm gonna watch it. I watched this movie. There's all these long monologues that are uncut in this movie, and Adam Driver is like kicking ass in this movie. Like he's such a powerful actor. I'm like, this guy's one of the best actors working today. Like he's on my list now. He's so wicked. And Scarlett Johansson,
I want to kill him.
She's awesome in that movie too. And I'm like, okay, if I was in either of these actors' shoes, I would probably have taken this Marriage Story movie because look, I just came off of doing 10 years of Avengers movies. If I'm Scarlett, or if I'm Adam, I just came off doing like 7 years of Star Wars movies.
Wait. Robert Downey Jr. was up to play the guy in Marriage Story?
No, let me finish.
Okay.
Both these actors just came from these big, like, essentially kids' movie franchises where they didn't have to showcase their acting chops very much. They get off of those movies and they're like, okay, time to prove to my agent and the world that I actually can act. Mm-hmm. So they take this Marriage Story movie, which is very, like, character-driven, huge monologues. They slay it, and they're like, boom, now I'm ready to get hired for whatever I want in the business. What does Robert Downey Jr. do? Prove to the world that he should never be cast again?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, it's a big
this was
mistake.
such a strange decision. I mean, like, I wish that somebody. Honestly, if he didn't have the dumb accent, it probably would have been 20% better. Like a significant margin better. Like 2 more points. I maybe would have given it a 4 out of 10 if he just didn't have that stupid accent. I know it's still a horrible movie. It would still be a 4 out of 10. But like, what a weird choice.
Do you think this movie is going to seriously damage his career, or do you think he'll be able to bounce
No,
back?
It really depends what he
He'll
does
be
next.
fine. He'll be fine. I think everyone knows that, like, because like he's involved in it, but also look at the entire other list of people that are involved here. Like, I don't think you can. There are some people who do well when they are guided. George Lucas being one of them. Super cool ideas. Don't give him the whole keys to the kingdom with the prequels. They all sucked. But he had really interesting ideas. So same thing with Robert Downey Jr. He's a great actor if he's guided in the right way.
At least he can share.
He got to make the decisions with his wife, and it was just like,
Well, that depends.
Disastrous.
So his next move, if they're like, okay, Downey Group, we screwed the pooch on this one, but let's try again. If they try that and they make another stinker, then it's over. But if he goes from this to being in someone else's good movie, then he might still have a chance.
That'd be the move.
guys, can we never do a movie like this again?
That's going to be up to the audience.
Like, we
Riley.
need to see the reception.
Yeah.
This was such a.
We can
I was
do
so
a bad movie
disappointed.
again.
I walked into the theater just like someone walking to their execution. Just like I have to. It's inevitable, and I have to get through with it.
Yeah.
And who knows
Did you
how
bear
I'll feel
that
after?
Did you bear that cross alone, or did you bring your wife?
No,
into
Lauren
this?
came and saw it.
Wow.
Hey,
That's love.
But this
Lauren-
is why Landmark's so great, is that you can get a seat in the back in a lazy boy, and she can just like chill on her phone. You know, it's great.
Lauren, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, personally.
She'll appreciate that.
Okay,
I don't know what else
You
to
can watch
say.
a dumpster fire of a movie. We could have done Cats. Like, it's not a well-reviewed
But Cats,
movie.
honestly,
I want to see Cats.
I would much rather see Cats instead of this movie. At least it's like kind of a cultural thing.
Like Sonic. We're going to do Sonic.
Oh, I can't
It's-
wait.
Yeah.
We're going to do Sonic for sure, and it's
Do you
going to
think
suck
Sonic? Do you
for
think
sure.
Sonic's going to be as bad?
Have you seen the trailer? Like,
Yo, have you
Jim
heard that-
Carrey looks brutal.
Have you seen that Wiz Khalifa song though? It's so fly.
I haven't listened to the
It's not
song.
very good.
I heard that it was okay. I heard that the song was fine.
It's fine, but it's got nothing on that Fast and Furious song.
Oh, you know what's so great about this? The Dolittle walking out of the theater is the Sia song playing. It was a song by Sia.
Oh.
You know who Sia is, guys.
I mean, Downey Jr. has this going for him. He gets to share the load, share the burden, and the blame for this movie.
Tell me
among a
you
bunch of
know
other
who
people.
Sia is.
I know who Sia is. She's amazing.
On the chandelier.
Thank you. Jeez Louise, you scared me there for a second.
But is this an original song for this motion picture?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, God.
They do this all the time. It's not a kids movie unless you have a major tie-in song by a major artist.
I wonder if they were hoping it'd be nominated for next year's Oscars.
You know what's actually so messed up and actually makes me mad? They made this movie in 2019, 2020, an era where people's love for animals is unprecedented. Like every day, literal billions of people are going on their phones and just sharing animals, like sharing photos of animals, memes about animals. Like animals are huge. How could you screw up a movie with animals?
Yeah.
How could you screw that up? We have, more than ever right now, we have a sense in our culture of what each animal's personality is. Like we know what geese are. We had a whole video game about them. We know what they do. Like plug that in. All they had to do is be like, oh, this dog was like that. And this little pigger, he acts like this. And then they just chose random animals that nobody cares about and got them to do things that I care even less about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't hate the characterization of like all the animals. Like I didn't I liked the ostrich. I thought they kind of wasted the bear. Like I feel like I was like the whole time I was like, is he a dude? Is he like a bro? Like what's his deal? Because he had that hat thing.
That was weird.
Yeah, bro.
And there were a couple of times where he's like, "Come on, bro, like settle down, bro." But
That
I'm
was
like,
their whole joke in the movie, was just saying the word bro. Come on, man.
Yeah, but like I don't know, the dog kind of made sense. And he's like just like upbeat, and the sugar glider had a cute baby voice.
The dragonfly was funny. The ostrich was funny. The rest was a missed
Where
opportunity.
did the dragonfly come from? Was
He
he
lived on
always
that
with
island.
them?
No,
Oh,
he
he
lived-
lives in the island.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jason Mantzoukas.
No themes about climate change or habitat loss.
Yeah.
They're with a frickin' polar bear.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
nothing for adults in this movie at all. It's not one of those, don't take your kids to see it and then hope you're going to laugh like you're watching Shrek or something.
This is like wait till it's on Bluray and
Just don't.
and if
ever
no,
touch
I mean
it.
play it for your kids if they
No,
want
don't put that on in your house.
Okay.
If someone gifts you this movie,
All right.
do not put it on in your house.
I was trying to be charitable.
Yeah, if
Be
anyone,
charitable. And
I'd watch Moana for the 5th time before I watch this movie again.
if you get this DVD, then just give it to that like semi-homeless guy that sells like t-shirts like when you string them up on a fence like by the SkyTrain by the metro station.
Put it to a good cause.
Or like a guy who has all his books laid out.
Yeah.
Give it to that guy to sell it. Just get it out of your life.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
destroy
no,
it.
but then you're just setting up a landmine for someone else.
Yeah.
Then they're just gonna stumble upon it. This movie just needs to be destroyed, taken out of the world. There's
Buried
no
beneath
good.
the ground.
There is no good to be had from distributing it any further. It's just ugh. Okay, what are we doing next?
I think, you mean next movie or what are we talking about next?
No, next movie. What are we like? Please tell me it's
Yeah,
something better.
We're going to watch
Have we-
Interstellar. Me and Dave are going to watch it tonight.
Nice.
We're going to watch it on Blu-ray OLED.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Get
Oh.
sucked into that
What we should
void,
do, we
dude.
should borrow those satellite speakers from the old lounge. They're not even hooked up. Just hook them up and string them up in my living room.
Sure, I'm down. Want to come over, Riley? Want to come over?
Oh, I'm busy.
We're
I
gonna,
don't know why that's funny.
There's pizza.
Lauren and I need to spend some quality time because we were forced to spend time with all of those horrible people last night.
At the movie theater?
Yeah.
Poor quality time.
The people in the movie is what I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought you meant the audience. You pieces of crap.
How dare you support this?
This is child abuse.
No, they didn't know what they're just victims. I don't blame them for anything.
It's my second viewing.
Ay, ay, ay.
Well, thanks
Okay.
for listening.
Yeah,
we
thanks.
promise that we'll do a better movie next week. It's Interstellar.
Hopefully, I mean, yeah, the only people who listen to this are hopefully people who haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, and you're welcome, you guys. Now
Yep.
you really don't have to see it.
Do not see this movie. I can't stress it enough. Stay away.
All right, guys, if you like our coverage of crappy movies, let us know. We can get Riley to see this kind of shit again.
There are crappier movies that could have been good. Like I track with David. Like it sometimes it's fun to take apart a bad movie, but this one was just so bad that it's not even fun.
Yeah, I was like, we screwed up. This is a waste of time. I want my life back.
Big mistake.
Where, like, Linus doesn't even pay for the tickets. It just comes out of your pocket.
It's just a net loss.
That's coming off your paycheck, big boy. All right, guys, make sure you rate this podcast wherever you listen to it. Hit us up on Twitter for all your kind words and nasty words. And shout out to that 1,000th follower on Twitter who gets a big sloppy kiss from Riley.
Yep.
Better chapstick up, buddy. That was weird.
It's going in dry. Bye-bye.
See you later.